Hello, welcome to this episode of the GymInformer podcast. I'm Chris Gilbert, your host for this episode, and today our guest is Steve Tripp, the owner of Top Strength Project up in Rhode Island. It was a super cool powerlifting / hybrid gym that I got a chance to go to this past summer. Super excited to talk to Steve about his gym, but before we get started with that, I'm going to pause and show you some photos I took while I was at this gym. All right, Steve, how long have you owned Top Strength?
Shit, I think this December was 8 years. So 5 years in this location, and then I was in another location on the west side of town, a small location for 3 years. So all in all, December was 8 years. So we're
Wow.
coming into 8 years and 1 month end of January.
That's awesome. And how did you get started from, like, I don't know what your background was before you owned the gym. Like, how did you get started as becoming a gym owner?
Well, it's a great question. It's not the most typical answer. I had no intention of doing this whatsoever at all. I mean, I grew up doing trades. I was a carpenter and a framer. Did a lot of construction, and I always really enjoyed that. I always really enjoyed working with my hands, and just kind of like, the end of every day, just the accomplishment of looking at what you created. I really always enjoyed that. Always enjoyed being outside, and that was kind of my intention after college. Throughout college, when I was playing college football at Bridgewater State, I went for exercise science. But throughout all 4 years in college, I was framing for a large framing outfit out of Tingsboro, Mass. The Severini brothers, of whom I became very close with, and they had a crew of 10 guys, and we were framing commercial and residential real estate. But when I graduated in 2010, I had every intention of going on with them full time, but the market was garbage. There was no work. They were all laid off. So I said, I guess I'll be a personal trainer. The first job I got was way up in Southborough, Mass. At a Fitness Together. That was like an hour and 40 commute. So Monday to Friday, I'd wake up around 3:15 to get there for 5. I'd be there 5 to 1, just a small studio setting, all one-on-one. And then I got hired at Boston Sports Club in Providence on the east side. So, but I was a trainer, but I was really just floor staff. I made minimum wage, just kind of like hang out on the floor, keep things clean, close the gym. And it was my responsibility to talk to people and build my own training business, of which I was super intimidated by in the onset. I'm like, how am I going to approach somebody and be like, hey, your squat's messed up. Let me show you something. And then let's say I show them something and they do it and they're like, hey, that feels great. And I'm like, cool. If you want to train with me, it's $110 an hour. I don't know about you, but I just didn't have the confidence. I have no background in sales. I'm like, how am I going to pull this off? But I was very fortunate that it ended up taking off pretty quickly. Within 2 or 3 months, I became the master trainer. I was doing between 140 and 160 sessions a month pretty quickly.
Oh, wow.
So I was able to leave Fitness Together and be there full time. I was there for 4.5 years, but I kind of felt like I'd reached the ceiling. It was corporate, and they had offered me some management positions that I wasn't really interested in. But then another gym opened up right downtown called Synergy. And this was a single owner, kind of high end, like 5-star, kind of like David Barton Equinox style gym.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool equipment, all blacked out, lights, the music, the infrared and steam room, and then the group. It was just super high end. So I was offered a position there. So I left BSC, and I was the director of personal training there, and I also was continuing to train. And I was there for like 2.5 years or so, and myself and my staff, the trainers, were all doing very well, but the gym was very poorly ran. The owner wasn't present. The managers weren't very competent, and the gym itself was very poorly run. Myself and my staff's checks started bouncing, and it just kind of started getting like, it wasn't a very good situation. So I was encouraged by one of my trainers and a few people in particular, one of the trainers I was working with, and a good friend of mine who was also a client. We were out one night, and they're like, you got to open your own place. And I'm like, no way. I like no business understanding whatsoever. I'm not going to open my own gym. And they were like, dude, you could do it tomorrow. And if you did, we would follow you. So I said, fuck it. So I started looking at spaces, started acquiring equipment. And luckily, because of my background, being handy, I was able to buy all the equipment used. I tore it all apart, sanded everything, replaced all the pulleys and mechanisms, got my hand on barbells, some racks.
Nice.
And the actual facility itself was a construction warehouse. So I ended up finishing everything. And that was a tough 3 months because I was still training full time at Synergy. So I'd be there like 5, 6 a.m. to like 8, 9 p.m. And then I'd go get a big coffee at Dunkin' and get to work till like 3, 4 in the morning, build in the gym, then go back to work the next day. I did that for like probably 3 months. And then
Oh, wow.
once the gym was ready and able to, and it was at least at a point where I could work out of there, I ended up leaving Synergy, and all my clientele followed. And the reason why I say that, I was able to do it pretty comfortably because I already had an income. I already had a training business that, grossed a good amount of money each month, of which I was only making a percentage of working for somebody else. So I essentially got a raise day one. And financially, the gym was in the green. My monthly expenses were probably between 7 and 8K at that first location, on top of the capital investment I had to earn back. But
Mhm.
I was able to be in the green pretty much from day one. I brought on a few trainers, and we were there for 3 years. I loved it there. I didn't feel like I lacked anything. I really liked training there a lot. It was very cohesive. It was very community and culture oriented because it's such a small place. Really, the only people that trained there were my clients and the other trainers' clients. I had a very small membership, of which was mostly trainers from other gyms who wanted to get away from that gym setting and train at my place because I started competing in strength sports and getting my hands on specialized equipment that no one else had. So it was just a really nice, kind of like edgy strength. We were all on a constant quest of trying to build strength and attain strength. And it was just really, really special. I really enjoyed training there. And when it was time to expand, I was a little apprehensive because I was like, if I end up opening a gym that has like a full service membership, how quickly is it going to become watered down? How quickly is this kind of culture and community that has kind of been organically and authentically created over the last 3 years? How long until it's just like another Gold or another,
Right.
big box gym?
Hmm.
So I had my reservations, but I ended up finding a great space where I am now. It's 10,000 square feet, big wide open warehouse. And I was really able to do this. I mean, you saw it. I was able to do it. I didn't have to cut any corners. I was in a really good spot financially. I had developed relationships with different equipment manufacturers, and I was able to build. It's never done, right? You're always buying and
Yeah.
selling different shit, but I was really able to put together a really special place, and I was very pleased to notice really quickly that the community and culture was not watered down at all. If anything, it grew, and it's continued to grow over the last 5 years. And it's just been a really interesting process as seeing it kind of come to fruition and grow each year.
Yeah, that's super cool. I would have guessed that your gym was bigger than 10,000. Like the way that you have it laid out, it's so open and feels so
Yeah.
doesn't feel crowded at all. I've been to a lot of 10,000 square foot gyms that just feel really crowded, and yours was you had it laid out really nicely.
Well,
So
I think that's kind of what lends itself. So, like, being someone that's been in the gym space for 20 plus years, just lifting, and then, being someone that has been a trainer at the time, I'd probably been training for about, what did it be? I started in 2010. So I've been a trainer for about 6 or 7 years. So I felt like I had a really good kind of understanding and grasp on like how to lay things out so that it's smooth and so that when the gym is crowded, everybody has a spot, there's enough equipment, no one's waiting for anything, but also just the flow of the floor
mhm,
plan. A lot of the times you see these videos come up online of, people walking in front of other people's cameras or people walking in front of someone when they're doing a set. And, they get really frustrated and irritated. It's not their fault. It's the gym owner's fault. Like if
right.
you have a grip and you lift weights, you know how to position equipment in certain ways so that when someone's working, they're not distracted. You position things in a certain way so that people can get done what they need to get done and not be interrupted. And also, like you said, this is a wide open warehouse, so it's like 107 feet deep by whatever it is wide. And when I first came in, there was a bunch of walls and petitions because this used to be a paper mill. So I talked to my landlord and I asked what I could take down. He's like, you can do whatever you want. So I just came in with a sledgehammer to start knocking shit down, and I was
That's
able
awesome.
to have a wide open floor plan. The only original walls are actually the walls here, my conference room and my office, the podcast room up front. These are
Yeah.
the only original walls. All the other walls I put in, and like you said, I was able to kind of like have the offices, the recovery room, the locker room, the bathrooms, and the group extra room all on one side, which leaves just a wide open floor plan of which I can be very creative with, and it gives me a lot of options to get, every square foot here is it has a purpose,
Yeah,
which I think
definitely.
which I think is ideal.
Definitely felt bigger. Yeah. And
And
it's,
also the high ceilings is super
oh yeah,
helpful.
huge.
You don't realize how important that is. Not only for just like the ambiance and the look, but having 14 to 16 foot ceilings. Same thing for airflow. It's so worth it. If anyone watching this is looking to open a gym, you do yourself a favor and find a spot that's a warehouse area with high ceilings. It makes all the difference.
Yeah, I was at a gym in Nashville that had like 10 or 11-foot ceilings. I mean, you weren't going to hit anything. You weren't going to hit it with the bar or anything like that, but
Yeah,
it
I mean,
just
you
felt
just
a
feel
little,
crowded. You feel cramped.
yeah, it felt a little dungeony, I mean, and it was a nice gym. It just felt a little dungeony. Um,
Yeah.
Now you definitely, like, your gym is definitely a strength training gym and more of a powerlifting vibe gym, but you had enough like accessory or bodybuilding style equipment that I would almost call it a hybrid gym at this point.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's also kind of my training style. I had no intention of competing in strength sports at all. When I opened my first location, a trainer came on who was a powerlifter. He was my first kind of exposure to powerlifting, really. And he had a client who was 17, and she was going for the world record, the world deadlift record, which at the time was 205. Which isn't enormous, but it's really because there aren't a whole lot of 17-year-old girls deadlifting. So she was
Right.
going for the world record, and I was like, shit, I'll do the competition with you. So I, got a singlet and trained for a bit, and I ended up winning the overall myself, and she won the record. So I was like, guess I'm a powerlifter now, and the same thing happened with strongman. I brought a trainer on named Adam, who was a competitive strongman, and he was like, I have a show coming up next month in New York. It's New York's Strongest Man. It's a national qualifier. Could you like sponsor me? I'd love to wear top strength swag. And I was like, I'll do it with you. So I signed up. We went down to New York in 2017, and I won my class, and I qualified for nationals. So I was like, guess I'm a strongman now. So I started just acquiring more and more of the specialized equipment. When we expanded into the space, I started holding more events, which, there was a need to gain more equipment, and just kind of continue to build that way. But make no mistake, this location and the last location, there's just as much, if not more, general pop here as well. At the end of the day, they're the ones that pay the bills. They're the ones that have the expendable dollars to afford training and specialized services. And it's nice because the general pop that does come here, they could go to a normal commercial gym and be just fine. But they choose to come here because they want to be around us. They want to be around the competitive athletes. I can comfortably say that anybody that strength trains in this area, this is where they come. There really isn't another place to do it. And I'm
Yeah.
also fortunate to be the rep for the two strongman governing bodies, so the USS and the NAS. My buddy's the NAS rep. I'm the USS rep. So all the state strongman shows are here. I hold 6 powerlifting meets a year here. So if anyone in the area is competing, they're either training here or competing here or both. So
Yeah.
it just kind of became that, organically over time. And I kind of like that. I take a bit of pride in saying that, the top strength product isn't for everybody, but for those that it is for, this is where they train, like without a doubt.
No, yeah, I can see that. It was the morning I was there, there was a lot of like, you know, there were a few competitors there that they were obviously people who were probably competing. And then you had your like, you know, I wouldn't say your average person, but the guy, most people I saw in there were in pretty good shape, but they weren't competitors,
Yeah.
you know.
And what's
Um,
nice too, part of one of the things I think the most pride in is the amount of people that came in, men and women of all ages. They come in the onset just because they want to lift weights, they want to learn how to exercise, they want to feel better about themselves, health reasons, whatever it may be. Um, and how many of them, in a short period of time, they see us over in the corner, doing Atlas zones, throwing logs around, doing carries, picking up cars in the parking lot, or just strength training for powerlifting. And it doesn't take long for them to ask, like, hey, can I do that? That looks great. Can I do that? And it's like, yeah, you can do that. And then within a few months, they're prepping for their first show too. It's not like you need to be a competitor to be here by any means, but it's nice. It's kind of like reassuring. You know, I'm in the trenches with everyone here. I'm training like everybody else. You know, I feel like so much. I feel so much more of a part of the community than the owner. You know, I'm
Yeah.
just as much a part of this as they are. But I do take a lot of pride in being able to facilitate people, you know, stepping way out of their comfort zone. You know, these people never would have thought in a million years they'd be lifting an Atlas stone or pressing a log overhead or, you know, squatting 2-3 times body weight. They never thought in a million years they would do that. And it's just like, it's just a matter of time, you know, a little bit of direction, a little bit of patience. And if you follow an effective plan, like you can take this stuff as far as you want. And I'm very grateful to be able to facilitate that and share my passion with others, you know?
And I think a lot of that's because of the community that exists, and partially the community that you've built, and the community I think that just exists naturally amongst people who are really dedicated to working out. They're, at least in my experience, like as a lot of people say, the big scary guy in the gym is the nicest person you're ever going to meet. You know, like those people who are in the gym all the time, dedicated to working hard. They understand what it takes to get there, and they're so willing to help anyone else out. So, you know, and you've built a really good community around that. If you don't mind, we're going to switch gears just a second. Um, a part of you had like a big strength training area, and then you had more of an accessory area. And the accessory area seemed like it was mostly arsenal equipment. So I noticed that in your more accessory area, it seemed like a lot of the equipment was from Arsenal. Is there a reason that you chose Arsenal?
Well, originally when I was expanding, I was just going to go like the hammer strength route. You know, get the classic plate loaded row, the classic plate loaded shoulder press, the bench press. But Arsenal was just kind of coming on the scene at that point. And this is back in 2017. I was invited to participate in a competition called Super Total. Not Super Total, I'm sorry. Super League. Super Total is the show we have here. But I was invited to compete in Super League, and it was basically an online qualifier. There were 3 workouts, one of which was kind of a CrossFit style workout. It was 11 movements or 9 movements, and it was a minute AMRAP of each movement with a minute rest, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There was a squat, and I think I did 315 for 30 in a minute, and then I went right to a bench AMRAP, and then right to a pull up, and then right to a toe to bar, and then right to a row, and then right to a dumbbell snatch, and then you had a 2-minute rest. Oh, then double unders, and then a 2-minute rest, and then a deadlift AMRAP. And basically, your reps combined with your weight lifted over your body weight was your score. Then the
Okay.
second event was 6 movements, and you had 6 minutes at each movement to get 24 total reps in 3 sets as heavy as possible. So it was squat, bench, strict press, weighted pull up, strict bicep curl, and deadlift. So your total weight lifted divided by your body weight was your score. And the final and third was 12 minutes at 3 lifts where you worked up to a 3-rep max, squat, bench, deadlift, as heavy as possible. So we all put up qualifying totals on this app, and the top 10 men and women in each weight class was invited to compete in Las Vegas for the superhuman title. So I went out to Vegas rated #1 based on my qualifiers, but they ended up inviting Larry Wheels to compete. And it was so funny because the better half of me was like really excited to get the opportunity to compete with Larry. The other half was like, this motherfucker's going to show up and beat me. So whatever. But so I ended up going out there, and it was held at City Athletic Club. And I was up in the main gym area, not the competitive area, but the main gym area. And I was just kind of like doing some training to warm up. And this super jacked guy came over to me, stood in front of me and shook my hand. He had a real Southern accent. And he said, hey, he's like, you Strip Cam? That's my Instagram handle. I said, yeah. And he goes, I've been following you. He said, I'm following Super League. He said, my name's Andy Hall. I'm the president of Arsenal Strength. And I was like, nice to meet you, man. That was a nice little connection to make, you know? So we got talking a bit, and he was aware that I was expanding my gym, and he offered, you know, I'd love to help you out with some equipment. So I got hooked up with him, and the majority of my stuff is Arsenal. I put them up there. There are a few other pieces I like here and there. Like I have a lot of Elite FTS stuff here too. I like a lot of their stuff. I have some Rogue stuff. Watson out in the UK, I have their dumbbells and a lat pull low row. So I kind of like pick and choose a lot of my favorite stuff. I got some stuff from Ghost that I really like. But as far as the majority of my plate loaded equipment, it's mostly Arsenal. And I have the old Strive line, the selectorized. You can the target loading. Prime has since come out with a new updated line, and I may upgrade to those. It's just a matter of space. I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't think ours are necessarily the best, but they have a few pieces that I really like. Atlantis has a few pieces that I really like, but I just really like Arsenal's look, and I really liked Andy, so I ended up working with him, and the majority of the equipment is from Arsenal, and he's been super supportive and really good to me all the entire time. So I really appreciate
Yeah, that's
that.
awesome. Customer service goes a long way, especially when stuff like that.
But that's the thing. A lot of people try and nickel and dime and cut corners when they're buying equipment. It's like, spend the money. Just get the best shit because you have it. It works. It doesn't break. And if it does, you just make a call and they send me the stuff. It's been years. I don't know if there's a warranty or whatever, but he never asked any questions. I send him a picture of what's going on. It's all online. They send me replacements, and just like that, it works out really well. Rogue does a great job of that. Elite does a great job of that. I've been very fortunate. I also locally perform better when it comes to like med balls and conditioning equipment and Group X equipment. I have a friend over at Perform Better, Carlos, who's been super supportive and helpful to me in acquiring all that stuff. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, we talked about the atmosphere a little bit. I think you've created a really good atmosphere, and you kind of covered how that came about organically, and how you molded in everyone else. And I think that you guys have a really cool vibe there. I talked to several members while I was there, and everybody loves the gym. So you guys are doing a great job there.
Well, that's really good to hear. I mean, that was something I kind of noticed. Like, it's always very peculiar to me because I'm kind of indifferent. Like, to me, 50 pounds is 50 pounds, or at least it was. And I always remember talking to people because I was training and whatnot, and I'd be like, where do you work out? And like 99 times out of 100, the response was always like, they kind of be like, oh, I work out at LA, or oh, I work out here, or oh, I work out there. Like, they were never like enthusiastic about where they worked out. And I was like, why is that? Like what's missing? And I wasn't really sure of it, but I was very curious, like if there was an appetite for this type of facility, back, for lack of a better word, like back to the basics, back to traditional training, like barbells, dumbbells, rugged equipment, bare knuckle, like hard, heavy training. And as it turns out, there's a massive appetite for it. People are starting to get sick of the whole commercial structure,
Oh, 100%.
There's definitely a market and an appetite for this type of specialized place. But, it all depends on how you want to cut it. I definitely have the vision, or at least it's my goal to maintain like a quality over quantity business model. Like I don't have any interest in having 2, 3, 4,000 members. I'd rather have like 400 people that pay a premium price for a premium service, and they get what it is. This means something to them because they've been in other gyms and they weren't happy, and they can come here and they get what they've been looking for. And I also, a lot of people ask about my experience at Synergy and why, because I'm owed like who knows how much, like 25, 30K or something like that, wages that were never paid. And I get asked a lot why I'm not more adamant about, fighting to try to get that money back. And my answer is like, I learned so many invaluable, priceless lessons there of what not to do. Like the owner, I mean, nothing against him at all, but he was never really present. And that's one thing that I am like, this is where I work out, this is where I lift, this is where I compete. So it's important to me. And it's important, like it means something to me for this place to be, kept up. If something breaks, I want it fixed. If there's a piece of equipment that I want to buy it, and people here are very grateful for that because they see it. And one of the biggest moments that was a really nice, you're always just trying to do the right thing. You never know if it's being well received. You never know if it's noticed. You just kind of keep your head down and keep working, But there's been moments throughout this whole process where, I'm reassured that I'm doing the right thing. One of which was we were having our first Super Total. It probably been open, this new location, about a year. and it's new financial management software, and I had some staff. I don't really see everybody's accounts if they don't buy anything. So people were buying admission tickets to Super Total. So I was behind the desk charging people for admission tickets, and I was seeing there a lot of accounts, and I found like 18 or it might have been 20 accounts that when they signed up, say a year ago, they paid they paid the first month, but whoever signed them up didn't put them on automatic renew. Or automatic billing. So it'd been a year and they hadn't paid for their membership at all. So at the time, I think membership was like $60 a month. So, we're talking like $600-700 for a lot of these people. And I was like, how am I gonna handle this? Like I don't expect them to pay 600 of money that they owe me, because it's our fault. It's my fault for missing that. So I
Right.
started contacting these people one by one, and I told them that, and I said, listen, I don't expect you to pay, what's owed, but I just want to let you know that I am going to start the membership. You're going to be billed on the 1st. And every single person, 100% of the people that I spoke to that hadn't been being charged, all insisted that they pay the full amount, and they all of them, not all of them were able to pay it right away. They made payments, but everybody fulfilled whatever was owed, even though I didn't ask for it, because they said it's very clear that the money goes back into the gym. It's very, very clear that this is important to you, and we love the gym. We appreciate it, and we want to give back. Same thing with COVID. When I had to shut down for COVID, people insisted to continue to pay membership when I was closed, because they wanted me to be in a good spot and be able to reopen when the time came. I mean, I only had to maybe freeze a small handful of memberships, people who were like in the service industry and were completely out of work. But they supported me. They insisted to continue to pay while I had to shut down, and that just meant the world. It's just kind of, it's just really nice to be reassured that you're doing the right thing and that it's well received and appreciated.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you can really tell like what kind of a job the owner's doing from the way the members behave in the gym.
Yeah, but it's not just me. It's the staff, but it's really the members. The vast majority of the membership here, sincerely, I mean, there's 3 to 5% of them can be pains in the ass, but I'm so fortunate to share this space with who I share it with. And it's so funny whenever I'll get new equipment or something will come in, and people will always approach me and thank me and say, we thank you so much for the equipment. We love it, this, that, and the other, and we appreciate it so much. But it's hard for me to be like on the receiving end of that, because I feel like I'm standing right beside them. Like I'm just as appreciative to be a part of all this as they are. Like sincerely, like I'm not just talking shit. Like, this really means something to me, because I don't always feel like doing it. I come in here,
Totally.
9 out of 10 days, I don't feel like doing it. But I come here and people are in here, they're doing their part, they're showing up, they're working hard, and it's almost like I owe it to them to maintain a certain level of the business. I want to maintain a certain level and keep it that way and maintain that standard. And I can't do it alone. And it comes down to not just me, but the staff and the members as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've noticed that when I go to a gym and the members know who the owner is, it's a good gym. If I go to a gym and
they also all know each other. They all know each other too. There's no islands here, man. There's no islands. Everyone here talks to each other. If someone's going for a top set, everybody stops and watches, and people have each other's back. I have probably 10 to 15 events and competitions a year. Every single one, if the members aren't in it, they're here to help or they're here to watch. And that's just incredible to me. It means the world.
Yeah, that's a great community. So you're obviously doing a great job up there. One of the things we always try to finish up with before we close out is there a piece of advice, or is there advice that you would give to someone who's thinking about owning a gym or opening a gym? Like,
yeah, I could talk about that for days. For one thing, something I got asked a lot when I originally decided to go on my own was if I was ever nervous, or if I ever was anxious, if I was nervous that it wouldn't work out. And my honest, sincere answer is I wasn't. I was never nervous, not for a moment, because I just knew. You just make a choice. You just decide that I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this work. And I'm not the first guy to do it. There's plenty of other people that have done it, and they can't be that much better than me. I'm going to do what it takes. And I told a couple, quick stories about, sleepless weeks, for a few months' time. Just doing whatever it takes to make it work and never complaining. Just keep your head down and keep working. And also, I never hesitated to invest in the business, right? There
Right.
are a lot of financial incentives to being an entrepreneur, you know. When it comes to, the wealthiest people in the world, there's a lot of incentives in having a business because you have a lot of write-offs, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to reinvesting in the business, I never hesitate to do that. If I want a piece of equipment and I'm excited about it and I think it's going to make my facility better, I'm going to buy it. Like, debt doesn't scare me. If anything, debt motivates me, right? If I'm in
Right.
debt and I have a $200,000 note to cover, I'm going to get my ass to work and I'm going to bust my
Right.
ass and I'm going to get it done
Mm-hmm.
because it's not just about me. I have employees here that are dependent upon me. I have members that come here every day to train. It's bigger than me. And, putting yourself underneath stress, it obligates you to do your part, and also it makes you excited to come to work. Like when I have a
Yeah.
new piece of equipment or a few new pieces, a few new toys, a few new bars, I'm excited. I'm excited to go to work, and I'm excited to train my clients with it. I'm excited to train myself on it. You know,
Yeah.
and at the
Love
end
it.
of the day, it's all a write off. So at the end of the year, I can be creative and I can show what I want to show and just roll it into the next year. So just believe in yourself and just do whatever it takes to make it happen, and don't look back. Just keep on grinding. I was having this conversation just a couple weeks ago. A couple girls that compete here and train at a friend's gym up in Mass. They're looking to go on their own and open their own gym, and they had my ear for a while, and they were kind of hesitant. And it's just like, why you question yourself? Just go in, find a space, and just start. You know.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. Yeah. I
One more
appreciate.
thing one more thing I'd
Oh
like
no,
to
go
mention,
ahead.
if you don't mind.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Um, I think I don't think I'm very confident that a lot of people want to go on their own and work for themselves because it's their goal to be able to work less and make more. Which is very sensible, and that's a fair desire to have to work less hours and make more money. But I don't think that's going to get you there. I think the mindset and kind of the perspective and, I guess, personality trait that it takes to be able to do something like this is you need to be the type of person that's happy to work as much as possible, regardless of whether they're getting paid for it or not. You have to
Yeah.
just, there's a lot of unpaid hours when it comes to working for yourself. You don't get vacation, you don't get benefits. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, there's nothing wrong with the type of person that wants to show up to work at 8, punch out at 3:30, and go home and not have to think about work until the next day and have
Right.
their weekends off. That's totally fantastic. And there's a lot of asses for that seat. That's not this. This
Right.
is 24/7, 365. My phone never stops, especially in the onset, especially for the first 3 to 5 years. I'm at a point now where the gym is paid for, it's self-sufficient. I don't have any debt, and I can take time when I want. I don't take a lot of time. If I do, I travel for work, for competition, to connect with other people. But it's a full-time thing. So if you're getting into this because you want to have more freedom outside of your professional life, going off on your own isn't the show, especially when it comes to a gym. This is 24/7, 365, and I think it's essential to understand that and own that if you want to take on something like this. Because if you're trying to get paid more to do less, this isn't the path to get there.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, at this point, I've met a lot of successful gym owners, and they all work their asses off.
Yeah, and you'll never hear me complain about it. You know?
No, they're all passionate. They all love what they're doing. So, and that's
Yeah,
the key too. I mean, if you don't love it, why are you doing it?
yeah, and it's not all butterflies and rainbows either. A
No.
lot of friends back home who are in careers they don't like. They're like, yeah, well, you love what you do. You never work a day in the life. I'm like, dude, you just decide, you just make a choice to find value in whatever it is you're doing. When I was building houses and on a roof at 110 degrees, sweating my ass off all day, I love what I was doing. When I was selling electronics and staples, I love what I was doing. When I was a porter at Dunkin' Donuts 3 nights a week when I was 17, I love what I was doing. You have to find like just the innate kind of like soul fueling just this feeling you get after a hard day's work, just you just feel good because you went in, you executed, you did the best you could. At the end of the day, when I'm home and I'm too exhausted to take a shower some nights, I just sit there. You just feel good. There's something to be said about just an authentic job well done. It doesn't matter how much money you make. If you focus on your service, if you focus on your craft, the money will come. But you have to put it in, and you have to find a way to find passion and to get something out of the day to day.
Oh, 100%. That's where we are right now.
Yep.
So yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and thank you for all of the great words of wisdom. I felt like this was a really great chat. It was exciting to talk to you about your gym, and it was great to meet you when I was up in Rhode Island. And again, thank you for coming on.
No, I mean, the pleasure's all mine. Doors always open, and I sincerely appreciate the opportunity. So thanks again.
Thank you.
No doubt, man.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more great content.